Greetings and welcome to the August 2026 Q&A with Jim McCarty. My name is Jonathan Tong and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the LNL research website shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook group and we meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week with Zoom links and information on what we're talking about that week. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of our podcast episodes, as well as recordings of our monthly Q&As with Jim and the occasional Q&As with Gary Bean, Trisha Bean, and Austin Bridges from the LNL Research Channeling team. Just go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you'd like to join any of our Q&A sessions. And we are once again today blessed to be joined by Jim McCarty for some informal conversation about the Law of One and how to live it in our daily lives. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing well. Looking forward to some rain this afternoon for all my flower gardens.
Oh, yeah. Has it been hot recently?
In the last week, we've been in the lower 90s and high 80s. I think we're in the 80s now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's August 1st in Seattle, and I'm wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt. It's a little bit cool, a little gray, cloudy, drizzly, not all that different from September or May, but been getting sunshine too, so we're just happy and grateful for whatever Creator delivers to us, Mother Earth. We do have a few questions from folks here, and I believe we had a recording from Carla that we wanted to start off with. Do you want to set this up for our viewers, Jim? Talk a little bit about the recording that we're going to be listening to?
Well, as she mentions to begin with, I wasn't there when this happened. This is something that she called her ecstatic experience. It lasted for 3 days and 2 nights. And during that time, she felt that she could solve all the problems of the world with love.
Nice. Well, let's give a listen.
I'm a water fiend these days. I don't eat very much, but I drink an awful lot of water. Just sort of in the middle of the day, and Jim was gone at the time, I began experiencing a euphoria that quickly built higher than any euphoria that I had experienced before and stayed there. It stayed there for 3 days and 2 nights, and finally on the third night, desperate for sleep, I ended it. I was going to let it roll until it quit because in my experience, this was a very self-limiting experience. It was like being in an oasis, but when you're in the oasis, you know that the desert's all around and you're going to be in the desert again pretty soon. And in this particular experience, I just stayed in that incredible flow for 3 days. And it was beyond any description. I felt that if somebody could just plug me into the problems of the world, I could solve them. You know, it was that kind of, not a powerful feeling as much as a feeling of enhanced point of view, I guess. But it was, of course, an illusion. For instance, at one point, Jim asked me, okay, if you can solve everything, what would you do to end the war? And I said, oh, I just send everything that we've got that's heavier than a baseball or can shoot anything or has any ability to blow something up or do damage to it, you know, more than a man with a sword in his hand, which, you know, basically I can see that, man to man and all that, you know. Not much more violent than football when you come right down to it. I said, just send them all into outer space and aim for out of the galaxy and, you know, continuing on forever until, you know, in the eons of time it takes it to hit the next place. Hopefully it will disintegrate it into space dust, you know, and not do anybody any harm. But you can't bury the stuff in the earth forever and expect the earth to live. Anyway, it's not a very practical alternative, although it certainly would work. But it gives you some point of reference as to how the old mind was working at that point. It just hit me. This has to be Luke at the computer. Has to be. Luke, you look like your mom. Yeah, Luke, age 7. And at the computer already. Goodness gracious. I tried to write about it while I was ecstatic, but I found, as everybody that's ever had an ecstatic experience who has tried to write about it has found, that it is pretty much unintelligible to the mind. And the words that you try to use to describe the feeling are inadequate. And really, it's better simply to say that it's an ineffable experience. There's no description available of it. You just have to be there. And I expect you have been there. And I had been there before. That's what has me the person of faith that I am, is that although I spend a lot of time in the desert, I also have my memories of the times when I have seen the perfection of the entire design, my place in it, and so forth. But 3 days of it was incredible. It was amazing. And I'll remember it for the rest of this incarnation. No question about that. It was a real breakthrough for me. And it healed a lot. Basically, I think what I had been doing was working on a very, very difficult lesson for a long time. And the illness kicked in to overdrive at the point at which I needed to work harder, I think, to get over the very last bit. And it basically had to do with me being able to forgive myself and accept myself, even though I had not been able to keep Don alive. It's never easy to look at something from a point of view far enough away that you're without the normal biases. But I got far enough away at that time and was able to look at the pattern of Don and me being as one, is the way Rob put it, due to extensive time together, I guess. Not just this incarnation, but there was the suggestion of sort of being really old warriors together and working together for a long time, which certainly feels right.
Yeah. It's so beautiful for folks like me who never got to meet Carla in person to hear her voice coming through the years, through space, time, and time space. It's a beautiful thing. Really powerful story shared there. Any thoughts, reflections on that? Care to share with us, Jim?
No, I mean, when she told me about it later on, I was blown away. I never had experience like that myself.
3 days is a long time. Do you feel like what she experienced is comparable to what you have described as your own experiences as orgasms of the mind, of the third eye chakra, the indigo ray?
No, I think her experience is way beyond mine.
Hmm, nice.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any connection at all.
Oh, interesting. I would have guessed they were similar, just prolonged. Because your experiences would also be indescribable, right? Your feelings of, would you say it's a feelingless of oneness with all? Is it a like feeling of being experiencing to some degree intelligent infinity?
Well, yeah, but I think that we all do that in one way or another. My
Hmm.
experiences were Well, the one thing that I never got answered from Ra was that there were, besides having an orgasm in my brain, when I had the regular kind of orgasm, there were voices and visions.
Hmm.
And I think that might be something about maybe what Carla was talking about, the other entities that were now appearing before me and giving me messages that I had no idea what they were talking about.
Hmm. Oh, interesting. Yeah, super fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. Um, we could probably talk for another hour about that, but I know we have other questions that people send in to us in advance and folks have on Zoom. So if it's okay with you, I think I'm going to go ahead and move ahead. I have a couple of visuals here, and the first one, I wanted to ask you about the experience of the mind, in particular the great cat, which is referred to in the lower left corner of the box that the emperor appears to be sitting on. I capitalized this just because it sounds like a pretty special cat, not some random cat. But it says in Ross said in session 95, question 23, the great cat guards in direct proportion to the purity of the manifestations of intention and the purity of inner work done along this path. And I put a picture of the Sphinx there just because I think Sphinx is some form of great cat. Do you have any thoughts, reflections? Like, what do you make out of what Ra is saying in this passage?
Well, I think the manifestations and purity of the inner work is basically what they talked about as the disciplines of the personality,
Hmm.
where we're trying to discover more about ourselves through our daily round of activities, all the catalyst that comes our way, and if we're able to process it so that there's, whether it was disharmony, that there's now harmony, or whether there's some sort of disease now we've been healed, mental kind of disease, or I think that what they're talking about is really how all of us are moving through our incarnations to process catalyst and become more and more one with the infinite creator. Every time we're able to process catalyst, we take one more step along that journey.
Yeah. Yeah, all makes perfect sense to me. I think when I was looking that, I was thinking of, I think there's other passages I've seen where they make references to how on the positive path, you really don't have the sort of protection that you do maybe on the negative path in terms of that genie with the arrow. I think that we saw in one of the other archetypes. But this cat here seems to be very clearly suggesting that there is protection for those on the service to others path. But the amount of protection is kind of commensurate to the purity of one's intentions, which I would interpret as being how purely one is polarized in service to others, as opposed to your own self and ego desires. Does that sound right to you?
I would agree totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have said, Quo has said a few times also about angels are also attracted to us by the purity of our desires to be of service to others. So thank you. If you don't have any other thoughts to share on that, and if folks on the Zoom call don't have any clarification questions they wanted to ask, I did want to ask you a little bit about pyramids, in particular the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's just kind of come to mind recently, and I was thinking of the Sphinx and that picture also. For viewers who don't remember that part of the raw contact or otherwise, can you tell us a little bit about what Ra said about how the Great Pyramid was formed? Am I remembering correctly that Ra or the Confederation constructed this pyramid through some form of thought forms?
Yes, they actually created the pyramid out of living thoughts of stone. They visualized the pyramid, and at one point, um, if somebody had been there to see what they were doing, they were visible from their waist up, but invisible from their waist down, which to me means they were in another dimension besides the third dimension and
Oh,
creating the
fascinating.
pyramid out of the thought of the creator's stone. And that's something
And does that mean it happened like overnight or in an instant? Like
I
one day
don't
there
have
was
any,
nothing there, and then the next day there's this big thing of stone there?
I don't know what the time period was. They said in the third density there's past, present, and future, but in most other densities they exist in the eternal present.
Right.
So maybe they mixed up. I mean, consciously we're using the eternal present to work within time, but have no long idea about how long in our time it took to build the pyramid. It's huge.
I get the impression that it materialized, I mean, at the speed of thought, which means it could have,
Could have been right away.
yeah. Which should be something. I mean, that'd be trippy to wake up one morning and see this thing outside your tent or whatever it is. That's just amazing. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
They built it to coincide with an entity that was giving credit for it called Imhotep.
Imhotep.
So
Yeah,
the
right.
people of Egypt said, well, that was Imhotep.
Right. I remember that part. Yeah. I see MJ has a follow-up question. MJ, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I'm curious about the pyramid. So, is my understanding correct that they had incarnated um, in that era in Egypt and they manifested this pyramid? Or
Who's
were
the
they,
they who
I mean,
incarnated?
the Ra, uh, you know,
Oh, okay.
Galactic Federation together of
I don't think
millions.
they incarnated, if that's what you're asking. Jim, do you want to respond to that?
No, I don't believe they incarnated. They did walk among the Egyptians as third
Right,
density beings
right,
because they saw that the Egyptians believed in the eternal life, the way they looked at the world around them. And they thought that they would be good candidates for expanding upon this concept.
right,
But after they were there for a while, they discovered they were being worshipped as gods
right,
instead of being seen as their brothers and sisters.
right.
And then they also discovered that a lot of the information they'd shared with those that they were in contact with was saved for the rich and the powerful only and not given to everyone, which is what it was meant to be done.
Does that answer your question, MJ? When you
Yeah,
said incarnated, I think I was imagining that they were
yeah,
born
so
and grew
now
up.
I have a follow-up question. What's the difference between walking between them and incarnation?
The difference between walking what?
You said they were walking between
Among,
them,
Yeah.
among them, and
Okay, well, the
physically.
difference between that is that they just appeared out of the
right,
blue, but the people who saw them did not see them just appear. They appeared. They were beings of light, and they conformed their bodies out of light to look like a human being on Earth, except they were a little taller and they had a kind of a golden glow to them.
right. I think when we use the word incarnation, we mean like incarnated as a soul, born as a baby, growing up through childhood into adulthood and dying. And they did not do that. It would be like a UFO landing. They just kind of manifested, appeared in what seemed to be an incarnate form. Does that answer
Oh,
your question, MJ? Does
yeah,
that
yeah,
make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. And I mean, just imagine and speculate that, you have some ascended masters who are capable of doing certain manifestation, and which leads me to believe since Ra was a collection of so many souls together, millions of them, the energy and the power they had was so tremendous. It could build such a big structure like a pyramid. That whole
Right.
energy was utilized in the thought to manifest.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which would
Thank you.
explain why the ancient Egyptians worshipped them as gods, because that's not something normal third density entities can do.
Makes
Right.
total sense, Jonathan. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Did anybody else have any follow-up questions about the Great Pyramid? I had a couple questions I was going to ask Jim about the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber. Before I do that, does anybody else have any general questions about the pyramid? Sounds good. So yeah, Jim, I did want to ask you a little bit about the King's Chamber and Queen's Chamber, which Ross said that's not the terms that they use. Those were human terms for him. But with regard to the Queen's Chamber, or what we call the Queen's Chamber, in session 57, question 24, Ross said the initiation of the Queen's Chamber has to do with the abandoning of self to such desire to know the Creator in full that the purified in-streaming light is drawn in balanced fashion through all energy centers, meeting in indigo and opening the gate to intelligent infinity. Thus, the entity experiences true life, or as your people call it, resurrection. So, am I understanding correctly that the Queen's Chamber was primarily for what they called initiation, and that initiation has to do with working with the in-streaming light that allows someone to open the gate to intelligent infinity that makes them feel like they have been resurrected, raised from the dead to new life?
Yes, I believe that's correct, and that's also something that the resonating chamber did that was below the pyramid.
Can you
It,
talk about that? I have no idea what that is, what that's about.
well, it requires that the person be aware that there's something more to life, a lot more to life than they experience in the daily round of activities. And if they're willing to give up what seems to be life, willing to feel like they're being buried alive and no more life, that they move forward into unity with the one infinite creator.
Nice. It certainly reminds me of, I think it's the transformation of the spirit archetype, the one that shows what appears to be a mummified body rising from the sarcophagus. Sure reminds me of resurrection. Do you mind if I ask you a question about the King's Chamber? And then I believe you said you actually had a diagram and something that you wanted to share with us. I would love to see that. That
Okay.
might tie in with this passage or these passages. In session 59, question 8, Ross said, the spiral, which is used for study and healing, begins at or slightly below the Queen's Chamber position, depending upon your earth and cosmic rhythms. It moves through the King's Chamber in a sharply delineated form and ends at the point whereby the top approximate third of the pyramid may be seen to be intensifying the energy. And then in session 57, question 16, Ross said these shapes, and they're referring to the previous question where they mentioned the silo, the cone, the dome, and the teepee having similar effects. These shapes have the Queen's Chamber effect. It is to be noted that a strongly crystallized entity is, in effect, a portable King's Chamber position. I'm still kind of struggling to understand all what they mean by all the spiraling energies and the pyramid and such. Can you share any thoughts, reflections, interpretations you have on this?
Well, I think that the life-giving energy of the one infinite creator is everywhere at all times in what we would see the air and the world around us. So what the pyramid basically does with these spirals, it takes that energy of the creator and spirals it, makes it more intense where the angles cross and gives you an opportunity to be healed uh, in the King's Chamber, to become one with the creator in the Queen's Chamber. And then if you happen to be able to go above the pyramid, that you can travel. You can travel interdimensionally in space and time, but that's not something third dimension entities could do. It has to be fourth or density or more.
Yeah. Yeah, super fascinating. I think you said you actually have a diagram that might help our viewers understand
Yeah,
that
well, it
better.
looks a lot like yours. I hope I can get it up here in a way that you can see it.
Yeah, just go ahead, keep talking. I've got my camera on speaker view, so I think we should be able to see it pretty big. Can you talk us through that? Like what's happening here?
Well, the resonating chamber is down here at the bottom, and that is what produces the half spiral that all of the other spirals are built upon. And then the first, uh, below the queen chamber is where the first spiral begins. And then it goes through and encompasses the entire king's chamber. And then just above the king's chamber is where the first spiral ends.
Hmm.
And then this area up here, um, I've never really known exactly what that was for, but I know that this third spiral off the top is for travel
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the fourth density or above.
Mm-hmm. Super fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I guess that is sort of the impression that I had gotten from pyramids, that they had that shape, as well as the dome and the teepee and whatnot are functioning in a way of taking that upward energy and spiraling it. And yeah, I guess there's certain points in that process where that energy can be effective at healing or initiation. What do you make out of that last part where they said that a crystallized healer basically acts as a portable king's chamber? I'm not even sure what crystallized healer means. Any thoughts on that?
Well, this is my opinion. Of course, all my answers are my opinion.
Of course.
But I think that to be able to crystallize healer or crystallize anything, you have to have your energy centers from the red, orange, and yellow completely open, that you've used all your catalyst in survival, in one-to-one relationships, and in group relationships. And then you can open your heart center. And then if you can see and love the creator in everyone around you, at least 51% of your time, then you can move into the blue. And if you have honest and clear communication that you give to others and you're willing to accept it from others as well, that's in the blue. And then in the indigo, that's where the magic comes, where you're able to create changes in consciousness at will. And that indigo can activate your spirit complex to move into the violet ray, where you become one with the creator. So if you're able to get all those energy centers open and keep them open through the daily experiences you go through using the catalyst of the lower three energy centers, then you can work as the adept. And at some point, you may be able to experience the fully experienced presence of the one infinite creator.
Is that stuff that you focus on when you're doing your meditations?
Not really. I focus upon my indigo ray, and it activates at that time, not like it did in the frontal lobes experiences.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that. Really much appreciated. I'm going to have to go back and watch this again and meditate on that, and maybe I'll have some more questions next time. Otherwise, I do know there are folks who have questions in the chat window, and I do know there are folks who sent in questions through the Facebook group. So for folks who just joined us recently, if you have a question that you would like to ask Jim, I will ask you to put it in the chat window. You can either type out the question as you want to ask it, or just say, I have a question about, and just give me the subject. Otherwise, Raquel, I think you're first. Would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jim. Thank you, as usual, for being here and answering our questions. So Thursday night, I was minding my own business, deeply in a sleep, and all of a sudden, middle of the night, 3 a.m., all I could think about was Carla. She was literally, her presence was just with me. I couldn't go back to sleep, and all these questions started forming in my head. I had no questions for you before this, and I was like, wow, okay, Carla's with me. And this is not the first time I've felt her presence, and I know she's particularly trying to work with me on something now, so I'll give you an update on that next time. But the questions that came in my mind were, well, I never got a clarification on this. Did you and Carla believe yourselves to be from the raw social memory complex?
We never knew. All Ra would tell us was two of us were sixth density, one of us was fifth density, harvestable was sixth, but they never said who was which.
Okay. That was something I just needed. Like, if you guys thought you were, I just wanted to clarify that. But then the other question, which was my main question, was, did you and Carla ever discuss her thinking that this was her last incarnation and that she wasn't gonna be back here to help with, like, incarnate back as a soul on this planet? Did you guys ever talk about that? Like, did she have an idea that that's what was going to happen?
No, we never. Well, I think that we were hoping that this would be our last incarnation because this is the end of the third 25,000 year cycle, the 75,000 master cycle.
Yeah.
So being this close to the end of it, we were hoping that we could work together and in our channeling groups and in our private lives to help other people to know more about the law of one and help them to open their hearts 51% of the time in love of everyone else. So we just wanted to do what we could to help other people get to where we were hoping to be ourselves after we left this life, back home with the Creator in the fifth or sixth density.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you guys did. And I feel like she accomplished her mission. That brings me to the follow-up. Did you guys have an idea of how long you were here? Do you feel like you've been here for the last 25,000 years, or do you feel like you came in towards the end just to kind of accomplish that mission and boost yourself, boost the collective into exactly what you just explained, basically.
Well, it was just our feeling that we have been here for most of the last 25,000 years, this final minor cycle of third density.
Okay.
Because this is a time where so many people who had been on other third density planets and didn't make the harvest to the fourth density, they came here. I think there were at least 13 different planets. Well, I mentioned, I didn't even name the planets, but so there were a lot of repeaters. This is what we looked at them as. We were hoping that, since they'd already been through it before, maybe we could help them
Yeah.
get to where we were hoping to be after we were dropped our bodies and walked into the light.
No, I appreciate that. That's good context to understand where you guys felt you were in the process of this. So thank you so much, Jim.
Well, thank you.
Great questions, Raquel. Thank you for asking. Guinea, I saw you had your hand up. Is this a question, a follow-up question about this, or were you going to ask about something totally different? If it's something totally different, I think I'm going to ask you to wait. I'm answering the questions in the order that they're in the chat window. So I do see Anna next, and then Stephen, MJ, Gina, Elaine, and then Guinea. And anyone else has a question, just go ahead, put it in the chat window. Anna, would you like to go ahead and ask your questions?
Hi, everyone, and hi, Jim. This is very exciting for me. I don't think I've ever asked a question in this forum before. So my question is that I know there's an ongoing larger energetic and collective shift happening, but I've noticed some patterns more recently, and I'm wondering if those are related to this shift. And there are four different things I've noticed. And so one is that everybody seems to feel so tired right now. Everyone I talk to, especially here in the US, they're struggling with burnout, depression. They seem apathetic. I think a lot of people, hopeless, a lot of isolation. And I'm wondering, is that related somehow? Or on a similar note, seems to be a much less sense of community, probably because people are burnt out and depressed. So if you're trying to reach out, maybe someone needs help with something, people are not interested in helping out or like coming forth or even making new friends, which I know a lot of these people would have been 10 years ago. And then
I think we got your question, Anna. Okay. Would you like to comment on that, Jim?
Well, I think that in general, people who are not awakened spiritual seekers of truth are feeling this burnout. There are so many wars going on in the world around us, and global the fires, the tornadoes happening all over the world are causing a lot of difficulty. People are dying, earthquakes. And I think that this is something that's occurring because this is the end of the third 25,000 year cycle. And all of this catalyst is meant to help people like you that are gathered here to become more dedicated to service to others and help them to open their hearts as you have opened your hearts, and to use the catalyst to see that this is an illusion, truly. If you think it's real, then you don't see that this is just the way the Creator knows itself. And we're all here to help each other know that we are the Creator. There's no need for wars. There's no need for fear. There's no need for separation. What we need to do is to come together and help each other, help others. That's what we're all here for. And groups like this are all over the world. And they are helping, just like you all are helping, everyone to become the creator and to look beyond the illusion of separation.
It's beautiful. Any follow-ups on that, Anna?
No, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer my question.
Well, thank you for your question.
Jim, do you think a follow-up question? Do you think it would be fair to say that a lot of those folks who are feeling depressed and exhausted, as Anna was describing, that might have to do with that Earth is vibrating fully in fourth density now, and that folks who are kind of still anchored to third density are finding they're not getting any energy from third density anymore?
Yeah, I think it's like an overdose of the nature of reality. And if you don't see that it's not real, it's real enough that you need to deal with it right here in third density, that's for sure. But overall, this whole thing's an illusion to help the creator know itself. And for us to know the creator as we move through our service to others every day, every moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm reminded of some passage where Quo said something to the effect that as your mind gets comfortable swimming in the waters of unconditional love, so will your bodies get used to the energies of fourth densities. Yeah. I think about that every day, all the time. Anna, did you have another follow-up?
Yeah, I just remembered because I've also been wondering if we're under more negative attack now, if that somehow has to do with this as well.
I think that's definitely true. I mean, I think that all these wars are helping negative entities to have their way with people. And some people in the positions of power may have contact with them. And I wouldn't know exactly who, but if you're willing to conduct a genocide against your country close to you, you may have a contact with somebody that you don't really need to have a contact with.
Well said. Thank you, Anna. Stephen, did you have another question, different question you wanted to ask? Or
yes, yeah. First off, it's nice to meet you, Jim, and I'm honored to be able to ask you these questions. My first question, I wrote, what do the Confederate entities have to say about suicide? What about its regard to polarization? What lessons might have been learned by choosing to kill or not kill oneself? Are there energy center blockages related to that? And what can someone do to overcome those thoughts of self-harm?
Well, basically, if anybody commits suicide, they've stopped the course of learning that they pre-incarnatively chose, probably with their higher self and their guides. And for some reason that they could not overcome it by finding another way to deal with problems, they commit suicide. So they have to come back and try again. They go through the review of the incarnation, and they see that some part of their path was blocked by the way they looked at the world around them. And I think that that's so. And as to how a person could, I think a person that feels suicidal, they don't. If they feel suicidal, they're probably not going to go for help, but they need some help. If somebody around them could let them know, I love you. I feel like you don't want to be here anymore. Let's talk about this. And maybe could you go with me to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and talk about your problems? I'm there for you. I'll help you however I can.
Thank you. Any follow-ups on that, Stephen? It's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking.
No, thank you. That was a great answer. My second, can I ask a second question?
I might. Yeah, if you don't mind, I think I just might want to suggest to our viewers that as the last question in response from Jim were indicating, it's a really difficult time. This is an extremely polarized, hyperpolarized time. We are literally living through the end of the world. So yes, I could easily see how a lot of people would have a hard time figuring out how to survive this. So join a Law of One study group is what I'm getting around to saying. Go to LNL Research, find a study group, find kindred spirits that you can hook up with. If not in the Seattle Law of One study group, plenty of other study groups to find. MJ, did you have a follow-up on that?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Jim answered. So, does when a soul from the fourth or fifth density incarnates like a wanderer, and passes away, do they also have a life review?
Yes, I believe everyone goes through a life review. I believe that all wanderers have made what you might call a contract or a pact of agreement with the Council of Nine to come here for a certain period of time and to try to be of service to others in various ways. Each wanderer has various talents that they can use to be of service to others.
Got it. And I'm relatively new on this path, Jim. I'm just learning. It's my second week. So pardon if I don't use the terminology or my information is not accurate. So is it correct that Dawn committed suicide?
Yes.
So,
Carla, go ahead. You have more of the
yeah,
question?
so I wanted to tie the two questions. I would have imagined, since I'm guessing he was at least from the fifth density, um, he would be far advanced and would know that, the learnings would stop if you take the exit of committing suicide and not completing your life. I just want to know your thoughts on how would such an advanced soul commit that mistake.
Well, I'm not really sure. Carla told me later that before we got together in the raw contact, Don had been thinking about suicide. And my own opinion, and this is my opinion, is that he did not like this world that he'd incarnated into, from whether it was the fifth or the sixth density. He didn't like the way it went up to highs and down to lows. And it just seemed like it was a jungle that he was living in. But when he met Carla, they had well, it took a while for them to get together channeling. It's a long story there. But once that he had settled in with Carla, he felt there was definitely a reason to live. And once she started channeling, before even the raw contact, then he thought that that was what he was supposed to be doing. And as to why he committed suicide, Carla and I always thought that there was another finger on the gun, that Don had gotten somehow off the track in his personal life, and we never knew how. But the way we first discovered it was that he was the pilot for Eastern Airlines, and he had to drive half an hour from home on Waterston Trail to the airport, and then fly an hour and a half to get to Atlanta, where he was based as an airline pilot. So we thought that, well, let's move there, and so he doesn't have to do all that driving. So we actually went there and we found a house that was 3 miles from the airport, and that looked perfect. So when we got back home to the home on Waterston Trail, and we got out of the car and went into the living room, a huge hawk landed right outside the door. Now, previous to that, the hawk was always a sign, do what you're thinking about. But Don saw it the other way. He said, I don't understand that hawk. I don't think we can move there. And we didn't. Eventually, he found a place north of Atlanta that it took him as long in the traffic on the Atlantic to go from north to south as they did to fly to Atlanta. So that's my opinion. That's what happened, though. And so we knew that something was wrong with Don. We never knew why.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's one that Jim has spoken about a few times before. And in the chat window, I put a link to the place on LNL Research on a reflection piece that Jim wrote on the 34th anniversary of Don's passing, which I think adds more to what he just shared with us today. So thank you for asking that. Stephen, if it's okay with you, I know you had a second question, but I think I want to make sure everyone has a chance to ask their first question before we go to second questions. So if it's okay with you,
Yeah, of course.
I'll loop around and come back. MJ, you were actually next on my list, but I think I might want to go to Gina and then maybe double back to you. Gina, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Hi everyone. Hi Jen. Thank you
Hi,
for
Gina.
being here. We love you. I was reading chapter 61, and then Ra said, in the body there's polarities, and if we understand them or balance them properly, it will help us on healing ourselves. And I was like, but I'm not sure exactly like what are the body polarities. And I wanted to if you can, if you want, tell me like maybe one example of how the body have polarities, please.
Well, I believe what Rob was talking about, the polarities have to do with the energy centers or the chakras. And if you are able to use each energy center, well, let's just take the heart center. If you can see the world around you as the creator and love that world at least 51% of the time, then that polarity is the positive polarity that can help you to get into the fourth density. If you're working with, say, the yellow energy center, working in groups, then your group can help other people to solve problems they've got if they're the victims of fires or tornadoes or flooding or earthquakes. Then you can be of service there and begin to open your heart to get to the green ray energy center. That's the beginning of polarization. If you're in the orange ray, just one-to-one communication, say if your neighbor is having a problem, doesn't have a way to get to the doctor's office to keep an appointment to try to cure maybe colon cancer or prostate cancer or some sort of disease, then you're moving one more polarized step up toward eventually getting to the indigo ray and the violet ray, so that you are able to see everyone as the creator, and become the creator yourself and see everyone as a creator and share that view with everyone around you. So each energy center has a polarity that you can take advantage of according to the nature of the energy center and polarize your consciousness.
Any follow-up questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your question.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the question. I see Elaine and then Guinea after that. Elaine, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Hi, Jim. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Elaine.
Hey. Thank you, Jim. Incredible answers. Thank you so much for your love and wisdom and being here with us today. In the recording that you played of Carla, she said that her greatest lesson was forgiveness of herself. I think many of us share that same challenge. Do you have any thoughts on what you think her spiritual processes were to get to that state of self-forgiveness? And have you ever faced that? And if so, what might be some steps or processes that you took? I think it's much easier to forgive others than it is to forgive the self.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see. As for Carla and how she would work with self-forgiveness, I guess a good symbol of that would be when she was channeling, she channeled concepts that she felt that as she went on and on and on, she could channel for 45 minutes, but that she never got all of the concepts. She'd fallen short. And so that's a symbol, I think, that she wanted to be of service to everybody all the time. And sometimes Ross said she was being too much of a martyr, that she needed to think more about how to preserve her energies to be a channel for whomever, for Ra, for Quo, for Hatan, Latwi. So that martyring effect is something that she had to work on. And I think the way she worked on it was just basically trying to see herself in another light, as somebody who was really doing her best, that she may have fallen short by her own estimation, but she needed to see it in a different way, that she hadn't fallen short. She'd done her best. Now, maybe at another time she could do better. That's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to walk forward on this stuff of becoming one with the Creator. And it's a long journey. And we can't be, she always said, you shouldn't should on yourself.
I love that.
I would have loved to hear her say that. Do you have a recording of that somewhere?
I'm afraid not.
You shouldn't shit on yourself. I love that. Oh my gosh.
But
What a
so
Living
gift.
many
the
of us,
law of one, 101. Yeah.
so many of
Yeah.
us do that on a daily
Yes.
basis.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I was what I later learned was a breaker. When I didn't do something just right, if I didn't pound a nail just right or saw a line on the wood just right, I broke whatever I was working with. And that started back in the fourth grade when I couldn't hit a ball with a bat. So I threw the bat through the bathroom window. That that was the that was the beginning of it. And it kept on going and going and going. And so by the time I was 68 years old, I was working on my computer in my bedroom there, and the power cord came out 3 times, and I took that power cord and I whacked the back of the monitor and I broke it. And I went to bed and I thought, there, I did it again. I broke something valuable. And I wonder, is there any chance I could accept myself for having done that? And all of a sudden, my heart started beating faster and I was crying tears.
Mm.
And I forgave myself.
Mm. Thank you so much, Jim.
Well,
It's a
thank you.
beautiful answer.
What a beautiful story. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard you share this story many times here, but it still gets me every time. I really, really appreciate your sharing that story.
Yeah, and it had to be pretty hard to be chosen. Fourth grader throwing a bat through a bathroom window.
Yeah. I can relate to it. I had anger issues too. Still do.
Mm.
We'll save that for another time. Guinea, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Let's see. Your mic is muted. Yeah, there you go.
Good evening. Hi, Jim. This is Guinea from the India group. We've met
Oh,
before. How are
glad to see
you?
you.
Thank you. Same here. And I want to take this opportunity to, announce on your video that there is a group in India also, and we translate in Hindi because I realize that there are a lot of people out there who want to understand, but Indians who are not in India who don't know about this channel, my channel and my group. So you're most welcome to, join our group and understand Hindi. Uh, so this is the third time I've started reading Law of One, and there is one question that I'm surprised how I missed out in one of the chapters, although I have a lot of questions. But right now here, the question that I was just recently doing this chapter, in one question, Ra says the Yahweh group worked with those of the planet you call Mars 75,000 years ago in what you would call the cloning process. There are differences, but they lie in the future of your time-space continuum, and we cannot break the free will law of confusion. How does it mean future space-time, time-space? This is what I got confused because wasn't that in the past? Shall I read it further? What was said? The 2600 approximately time was the second time. We correct ourselves 3600 approximately the time of attempts by those of Orion group during this cultural complex. So I wanted to understand, one is that time space continuum, how is it in the future? And another question that I realized while going through that Ra has always mentioned Orion a lot of times, but he spoke about two other negatively oriented constellations. That is, one is southwest, I think, if I'm not wrong, South Cross, and another was Constantinople, if I'm not wrong. So there are three negatively oriented constellations of planets, but Orion is the one that he's spoken about most. Um, I don't know if he ever answered why, but if you have any idea why. So these are the two questions regarding this one question. Of course, later on when I get the opportunity to ask more, I do have some questions.
Want to comment on that, Jim?
Well, there were 3 different social memory complexes. The Orion group ruled them all. So they were at the top.
Okay.
And as far as time, space, when Yahweh was working with the population of Mars that had caused through war, had destroyed the atmosphere, they were transferring into planet Earth. And they used that time what was called the cloning process, so that they would have more of a desire to be of service to others. They would be more intelligent and stronger and so forth. But some of the other Confederation members thought that they had gone too far, that what they had done is something in the future, in time space, might come back upon them, and they might use that enhanced intelligence or strength in a negative way.
Okay.
Interesting. Any follow-up questions on that, Guinea?
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was in the future, then why did Ra mention it at all? Why didn't he just speak about what Dawn was asking? Because according to Ra, he says don't infringe free will. And we have been trying to maintain that so strictly that unless and until somebody asks a question, we don't answer. At least we try. But I have noticed in a couple of cases where Ra has done that. I'm not saying that he infringed Dawn's free will, but I'm just wondering.
Well, Ra tended to give a pretty detailed series of requests or answers to requests. They like to give as much information as possible without breaking free will. But maybe at some point they went a little too far. That's just my opinion.
I just hope he'd gone a little more too far and gave us the full answer.
Next incarnation, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
There were some occasions where they didn't go far enough. They would say yes, no.
Okay, so you were talking, somebody asked a question about Carla's learning of forgiveness, self-forgiveness. Can I ask a question about that? If you
Last question.
Jonathan?
Last question. Yeah.
So Carla spoke about in the Living the Law of One, she spoke about self-love. She spoke about the inner heart sanctum. I've been wondering, how does one reach the inner heart sanctum? I mean, I know it is shadow work and all of that, but if somebody has issues with self-esteem, with self-value, with self-love, I feel that we do try, as humans, but somewhere maybe we're falling short and unable to reach the core. How do we do that?
I think reaching the inner sanctum is what you do when you engage in meditation. And in meditation, you can go into the meditation with a question in your mind or from your heart, and then let it go and meditate. And sometimes the Creator speaks to us in thoughts that are too deep for words. And so if you have thoughts when you come out of meditation about how you might be of service, how you might solve disharmony with another friend, how you might move forward on your spiritual journey, then you're enhancing your journey by communicating your desire to the Creator, and then listening for some indication, one way or another, of how to move forward in service to others.
Okay.
Great
Thank
question.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for sharing. And thank you, Guinea, for joining us. And thank you for the more than a few brothers and sisters from the Indian continent who joined us today. Yes. Great to meet you. And yes, I would encourage folks to go to the LNL Research website, click on the Connect tab at top, select study groups from the drop-down menu, and then look in Asia, and you can find a link to the India study group. Thank you all. Jim, if you don't mind, I know we're already about at an hour right now, but I had 3 questions that were sent in from our Facebook group. Do you mind going through those real quick before we wrap things up today?
Sure.
First one, while we're talking about chakras, energy centers, Jeffrey asks, why did Ra suggest that the root chakra cannot be modified or changed? I can understand why the crown cannot be, but the root I'm rather confused on, especially when in my own experiences with energy healers, there's been various changes in terms of blockages activations, and potency in regard to my own root chakra, with noticeable physical and psychological difference. Feels weird that this can't be changed unless I misunderstand the function.
Well, the root chakra, the red energy center, deals with survival and sexuality. And that is the foundation upon which all the rest of the chakras are built. You don't want to change it or you might screw up the whole building.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I seem to remember their discussion about the root chakra being the entry point for the intelligent energy and the crown chakra being the exit point.
Right.
Would it be fair to say that? Yeah, so their function is really just to function as entrance and exit
They're kind of
points?
like the boundaries in which all the process of going through all the energy centers and all the densities takes place.
Makes sense to me. Jeffrey, I hope that answers your question. If not, let us know. Evan is asking, Jim, what are some things that you have been unlearning lately? Beliefs or ideas that have fallen away?
Unlearning? That's a good question.
It's a great question. Yeah. Can you think of any thoughts, beliefs, behavior patterns, anything that you've been unlearning? Aside from not breaking things?
No, I'm trying to learn more every day. I mean,
Nice. It's good.
I thought for a while I could figure out how to use this new cassette recorder. It's also a CD and AM FM radio. And so I sat in the front room, in the living room, and I couldn't figure it out. So there was a little booklet that came with it. Oh, maybe I should read that. And I figured out how to turn it on.
Yay! It's good.
I don't know why I thought I could do it otherwise, because as you know, I'm technologically challenged.
Oh God, yeah. Tell me about it. Well, thank you for sharing, Lorenzo. That was a great question, and maybe Jim will think of something next time. Otherwise, Jim, pretty darn good as is. Much appreciate that. I got one more question, and this is from Lorenzo, who asks, "What is it that makes the Law of One so special compared to other teachings, philosophies, religions, etc.? What is its uniqueness, strength, maybe also weakness?"
I think what the Law of One is teaching us is that we're all one. We're the creator. And we're here to help the creator know itself. We're also here to help us know the creator. And we're here to help us know ourselves. It's a great game we're playing. It's becoming knowledgeable, discovering more information. It's all a facet of the jewel that's the one creator. And every time we learn something we didn't know before, it's another facet of that jewel.
It just never ends. Beautiful questions. Really appreciate that. And Jim, thank you as always for sharing your thoughts and reflections. We are just a little bit over time. You got a little bit extra time to hang around for a pop quiz?
Yep.
Right.
You know I love those pop quizzes.
Well, I was looking forward to it, and I think you might even love this one even more than usual. We shall find out.
Okay.
Pop quiz, of course, is something we like to do at the end of our time together, just to end our otherwise serious discussions on a lighter note and maybe look for Law of One connections in pop culture, or in today's case, in culture in general. Just for the fun of it, since this is something that we talked about earlier in our Q&A today, today's pop quiz is going to be on cats. We already saw this passage earlier today, but there's another passage from Quo that I think is worth sharing with our viewers. This is from February 11th, 1990. Quo said, "The entities known as your cats have a history within the archetypical experiences of your third density that dates back, shall we say, using your reference of time, to many, many thousands of years ago, moving especially through that culture that you know as the Egyptian culture, moving back even farther to the roots of this experience into that culture known to you as Atlantean. Thus, the cat has for great eons of your planet's metaphysical experience become associated with the mass mind of your planetary sphere, with that which is protective, nourishing, loving, and inspirational. Thus, the connection between this creature and that quality known as love is one which is steeped in metaphysical experience and within the roots of your subconscious mind, as we saw already in the archetypical mind." We all know that you're a cat lover, Jim. Refresh your memory about how, between you and Carla, you've had about how many cats?
We had 19 cats together.
19 cats. And how's Mystical Joy doing these days?
She's doing really well. She goes back and forth between electrically running all over my home, jumping high, knocking things over, and then sitting carefully and patiently beside me while I work on the computer and purring without me having to touch her.
So beautiful. Mystical Joy indeed. Well, today I'm going to ask you 3 questions about cats, see how many you can answer correctly. Jim, go ahead, say your answers out loud so our viewers in the near-distant future can hear you through space-time. You are watching this on video in the near-distant future. Say your answers out loud so we can hear you through time-space. Folks here on Zoom, go ahead, put your answers in the chat window if you want. As always, points don't matter. If you had fun, you won. If you learned something interesting about cats, you won big time. You ready for your first question, Jim?
I'm ready.
Speaking of running, in miles per hour, how fast can cats sprint? Give you 5 points if you get within 5 miles an hour, 10 points if you get within 2 miles an hour, 2 points if you get within 10 miles an hour. The points, of course, don't matter. But what do you think? In miles per hour, how fast can a house cat sprint?
I'm guessing 10 miles an hour.
Nice. Surprisingly enough, 31 miles an hour. A domestic
Really?
house cat can sprint up to... I know! That's what I was thinking. That is
31
amazing.
miles an hour?
Meaning one could beat Usain Bolt in a 200-meter dash. Usain Bolt is still the fastest human in history.
Oh,
His
yeah.
100-meter world record of 9.58 seconds, 200-meter record of 19.19 seconds still remains unbroken.
31 miles an hour?
I know. I did not know that until in the process of writing this quiz.
MJ, you have something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's trippy, huh? Yeah. Are you ready for your second question?
I'm not sure.
Which of the following are cats unable to taste? Is it A, sweet, B, sour, C, salty, or D, bitter?
D, bitter.
Nice. According to my exhaustive research of 10 minutes, cats are apparently unable to taste sweetness. They apparently do not have the taste receptors for it, although they can taste other things. Yeah. Have you had, out of your 19 cats, did you have any with interesting, weird eating habits?
Well, not really eating habits. Gandalf, when Don would eat a little piece of candy that was wrapped in plastic, he would take the plastic and throw it out on the floor. And Gandalf would retrieve it and put it in his shoe.
Really? Oh, how funny. Any
But I don't
idea
know if
why?
eating. No, most of my cats have eaten very well.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they are lucky to have a wonderful third density mentor like you. Are you ready for your last question?
Hey, I'm ready.
It's true or false? True or false? Cats only meow for humans.
False.
You know, it depends on your point of view. It is false in that they do meow when they're kittens, and they do meow to get attention from their parents. But apparently, when they reach adulthood, adult cats don't meow for other adult cats. It's just something they do around humans, presumably to get attention from humans, I suppose.
Well, I guess that's right. You probably know I have a feral cat. He lives in my yard named Faithful. A couple of weeks ago, he came up on the back deck for the first time ever. And when MJ saw him, she go,
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting.
that's a big meow. But of course, then, she's just now old enough to be a cat. She was a kitten.
Oh, interesting.
She's 6 months old, so she's a cat now.
Yeah, yeah. So she was a little defensive there, a little concerned.
Oh, yeah. But now she likes to, when I feed him out on the front porch, she likes to get up on the shelf. She can look down and see him. She doesn't meow at him. She says, I see you.
Oh, nice. Smart. Well, Jim, want to thank you again, as always, for giving your time to be here and hang out with us today. Did you have any final thoughts, reflections, wanted to share with folks before we say goodbye?
Well, I just want to thank you all for your questions. It's always an honor to try to give you my opinion about how I can answer your question. And I always thank you for helping me talk about the long one, because that's what I'm here to do. And I think the more we get together and meet these Saturdays, Saturday the first month is the way we're getting to be a little social memory complex. And I'm serious about that.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think this is the way social memory complexes form. And I think
sure.
that if we can go out into the world around us and share some of the things that we learn here, we're planting seeds that positive polarity can grow. And maybe
sure.
this planet, can become, well, this planet's going to be positive, but hopefully more and more people will form a social memory complex and be part of this planet. So that's what we're doing when we're gathering here. And I thank you all for your questions. And I love every one of you. And I hope we get together again next time and move more forward on a spiritual journey that we're helping each other travel. Those of like mind together shall far more surely find. Like mind and hearts, I would add.
For sure. Well, love you much, my friend. And I'm sure we would love to see you plant some more seeds in the Indian continent also and spread that love
Oh, yeah, for sure.
to the other part of the planet. Thank you, Jim, as always, for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all the friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To everyone who took time out to join us on Zoom today, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. And to you who are watching this sometime in the near or perhaps distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We are sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai. Namaste.